Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Christina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Christina Schmidt. Today we're going to talk about 2 essential rules for every team, organization, business, sporting team, family. These are 2 essential rules for any time you have a group of people that are functioning together as a unit. So to introduce the rule, I'm going to read the second reading from Sunday at Mass. So this is Sunday, August 25th, 2024. So the second reading, it's Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21 through 32. So bear with me, those of you who maybe don't read the Bible yourselves or you don't go to Catholic church, just bear with me here because it will come down to a point and it will come clearer. So I'm going to read through it and then we're going to commentate a little bit on it because I have a feeling some of you might go, what? To some of the things in here. Okay. Brothers and sisters, be subordinate to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives should be subordinate to their husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of his wife, just as Christ is the head of the church. He himself the Savior of the body. As the church is subordinate to Christ, so wives should be subordinate to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives even as Christ loved the church and handed himself over for her to sanctify her, cleansing her with the bath of water with the word, that he might present to himself the church in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. So also husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one hates his own flesh, but rather nourishes and cherishes it, even as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak in reference to the Christ and the church. Okay. Let's dig into this a little bit. So the first one that I think people go, what? to, and I admit I wholeheartedly, a younger version of myself would be saying, excuse me? No. To this one statement, wives should be subordinate to their husbands as to the Lord. So there's a lot of internal triggers that might come up for a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, wait a minute. We are equal partners in this marriage. We are... I have a say. That's not what this is saying. This is leading into my rule number 1 that is essential for all families, teams, relationships, whatever you may say. But a leader must be defined. So that's what this is doing. This is defining it in the context of a family because that is your most basic kind of relationship that you have. And so there are so many elements of a family that you can find in work teams between, whether it's just how people work together, how people interact, but there are so many elements that are similar that you can take this view of this family and we can explode it into what this looks like and what this means for a team. So back in the context of the family, all this is saying is that the defined leader is the husband in a relationship. Take that for what you will. If you say, no, in my family, the defined leader is the wife, okay, fine. But the key part of it is that there is a defined leader. The buck stops someplace, and the ultimate decision has to lie with somebody. Otherwise, there will be feelings of animosity. There will be feelings of, I'm never listened to. I'm not respected. I'm not being heard, or just frustration and separation. And that happens again at home or at work. But when we don't have that clear leader defined, there ultimately is confusion. And that's a problem when you're looking to build a successful team, which I believe most of us are. If we're listening to this podcast, you're looking to build a successful team. You're looking to become a successful leader. So the first and foremost thing is whenever team you're on, even taking it down to a task level, we have to say who owns it, who is the leader of this task, who owns this project, who is the leader and who owns this team, because the buck has to stop somewhere. There's always going to be a decision that the team is trying to achieve, and somebody has to ultimately make that decision. So now I want to move into the reading again and read the part that people stop listening to because they're frustrated with this first statement. So let's read a little bit further down. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church and handed himself over for her to sanctify her, cleansing her by the bath of water with the word, that he might present himself to the church in splendor without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. So husbands also should love their wives as their own bodies. So what this is saying is that, okay, we're defining a leader, but leader, you must be servant leadership. We use this term. You can use servant leadership. You can, if you've read the book The Motive by Patrick Lencioni, he talks about how if your motive for being a leader is self-glorification, then you're not leading well, and you shouldn't be a leader. Your motive for being a leader should be to serve others. And that's love. That is what love is. It's that you're giving of your whole self to the other person, to the relationship. So let's just think about that. Think about it in a spouse relationship, but also think about it in a leader team member relationship. If you know that leader is doing it for the good of the team, for the good of the organization, and they have your best interest in mind, then you're okay with them saying, the buck stops here. This is the choice we have to go with because I said so, or whatever term you want to say. Sometimes, right? It's going to be okay because it's going to happen. But when there is the trust there, because you've built the relationship, it's okay. Now, if this is happening every single time and the leader's always saying, no, not a good idea, my way, no, not a good idea, my way, then again, we're not living in that self-double respecting sort of way. And you have to look at the overall relationship there, because that leader is probably they're either not ready to accept their team's help, or they're not living in this, I'm doing it for the good of the organization. Because we have teams to create more thoughts. We have teams, yes, to share the workload, but we do group collaboration because, two minds are better than one, but that's not true if only one mind is making the choice, right? So I'm all about collaboration, but in a team environment or a spouse relationship, there's always got to be somebody who makes that final decision, especially when there's a tie of decisions. So that brings us to the rule number 2, focus on the relationship. Because, hey, you can define the leader, but if that leader isn't focusing on the relationship with their team and hasn't built the trust, then when they say the buck stops here, there will be the animosity. There will be struggle. There isn't the trust there that says, okay, I trust that they're doing it for the good of the organization, for the good of me, for the good of whatever it is. So let's dive into that a little bit, into examples to kind of illustrate it better. So let's go to the example at home. All right. So there's a family and they're invited to 2 social engagements over the weekend. They're maybe far apart. And the wife is saying, hey, we have to attend both. There's social obligations. This is my family. This is your family. We've got to make both of these things. But the husband says, we can't. Let's choose one. Let's choose this one. Okay. If there's no trust, let's take that. If we don't trust that the husband is doing the best choice for the family, and we don't have a relationship built up with that husband, then, wife and kids might be like, oh, he just doesn't want to do it. And he's, just out for himself. He's being lazy. He wants to go gallivant off with his friends, whatever it might be. Okay. But if we do have a trusting relationship and we say, okay, that's his choice, he's the leader, that's what we accept. All right, I might not like the choice, I may not like the decision, but overall, I can go with it. I can accept it because there's a relationship there. In some of our leadership programs, we talk about your bucket being full. So having a trusting relationship means you have a full bucket with that person. So when somebody asks for a couple of items from your bucket, I use Legos in some of my example because they're prolific around my house. But so if somebody wants to borrow some of my Legos and my bucket is full, totally fine. I don't mind. I'm totally cool with that. So in this instance, there's a decision made I don't 100% agree with or like. It's fine. I can give the Lego. Bucket is still pretty full. I'm okay. We're okay. We're all okay. Right. But my bucket's empty. There's been no work on the relationship. There's been no trust built. There's nothing built. And now somebody wants to take my last 2 Legos. Oh no, I need to keep my Lego because clearly it doesn't get filled up regularly. And clearly that it's drained, it's empty. And when my bucket is empty, I'm not functioning well. I'm not happy. I'm not productive. So when we focus on relationships and we understand who's clearly defined as a leader, we can be okay with things we don't always agree with. So let's take it to a business decision. So we have a team, and the team member says, hey, let's try this new process for our next launch event, and we can implement it, we can put it in place. I think it'll be great. We'll have all these improvements. But the leader says, no, not right now. We're going to go with the old one. I don't know. What's the right choice here? The thing is, there is a reason the leader chose that. And if we have the trust that the leader has the overall view, like maybe the leader knows, hey, 3 people are out on vacation. We've got a new process being launched over, in the engineering department, that we can't afford to do it in the marketing department as well because our IT resources are tied up already. So we can't do it now. Perhaps there is a caveat. Hey, let's look into it, research it, and we'll do it next time. We'll put in the schedule to be launched in May, and then we'll, whatever it is. But there is a reason that the leader made that choice. And back to the relationship buckets, if your bucket is full, it's okay. If we trust that the leader has our best interest and the best interest of the business at heart, we can be okay with it. But when we don't, let's look at this scenario if we don't. Okay, so team member suggests an improvement, boss says no. He never listens, or she never listens. She always just wants to do it the way we did it before. My ideas are not respected. I'm just going to sit back and just do the bare minimum, just do what I'm told, because clearly they don't need my ideas here. That is not a productive employee and not a productive member of a team, and will cause problems. So as a leader of anything, you want to be building those relationships and keeping those buckets full. And that's not giving in to every whim, but that is understanding the needs of your team and making sure they're met. Right? That sounds hard sometimes. It sounds like, why do I have to give people so much? But having needs does not make you needy. I'm going to say it again because I need to hear it multiple times sometimes, but Having needs does not make you needy. So your team will have needs. You as a leader have needs. And when our needs are met, our buckets are full and we're happy to move on and move along and work hard, be okay with the choice that we didn't agree with. We're happy about that. We're okay with it. We can deal with giving up some of the Lego every now and again because the Lego gets refilled and it's pretty full. So we're good. But it's when we continually ask people to give, and they're like stealing from other people to give you Lego because they're just completely drained dry. Now we've got burnt out employees. We've got good employees leaving. We've got relationships breaking down. We've got people getting actually sick and ill and missing work because they are so drained and stressed out and overloaded. It's not what we want, is it? I don't think any of us wants to be that way. And so we need to do our job, our roles as a leader is to make sure our team is not that way. Our first step is making sure that our needs are met and we're not feeling that way too, because when we're trying to lead from an empty bucket, we're going to struggle as well. So understanding those needs can be hard, but one simple way, and I say it all the time, but one simple way to understand needs is through Working Genius. Every genius has something that they crave, right? And that's some of those needs. And every genius and frustration every genius has a way that they're crushed too. So if we're continually leading somebody in a way that crushes them, we're not meeting their needs and we're actually taking away from their needs. But if we can figure out, so quick, simple test assessment with the Working Genius, okay, what's one way I can meet their needs? Then now we can make sure that need is met. They are given energy. They're feeling some joy because at least this need is met. We can get further needs and understand deeper needs through one-on-one conversations, coaching sessions, just those kind of checking in, like that focus on the relationship thing, right? In a spouse relationship, it's date night, right? But in a business relationship, it's one-on-one coaching sessions. They are the same thing, just G-rated, right? So there are so many similarities there, but again, the two rules for life, maybe you can call it 2 rules for relationships. Number 1 rule, you must define a leader. So defining that place where the buck stops. And rule 1A is defining roles and responsibilities within there. So when we fully understand who is in charge and what that really means, when we've clarified that, and then we know we're following rule number 2, we focused on the relationship, we've kept those buckets full. When we have those 2 things together, now we can be more productive. All right, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, give me a 5-star review, and share it with a friend, because that's how we get the word out. That's how we get people becoming better leaders and making their workplace a place of joy rather than this draining drudge of life. And that's how we fulfill our mission in lives, is that we are happy at work. It is not taking away from our family lives, and it's not taking away from the things that we love to do. So share it with a friend, share the joy, as I always say. If you'd like to take your Working Genius assessment, I now have it available that you can go right to my website. So christinaschmidt.ca/workinggenius. You can grab an assessment right there. So if you're interested in doing that, you can grab that assessment. It's the same price as if you go right to the Working Genius website. So it's just another avenue for you to find it. So you can grab it, and you can even have an opportunity to book a one-on-one session with me to go over it. So we can really dig into what it means. We can clarify it and really make it make sense for you. So I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next time on the Business Building Blocks podcast. Thank you for listening to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about all things people and organizational wellness, because quality people and processes are at the heart of every successful business. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you know when new episodes are released. You can also follow me on Instagram at christinaschmidt.ca, where I share real-life tips to help in your leadership and life journey. To get one-on-one and team support with your leadership development, book a discovery call on my website at christinaschmidt.ca. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.